Today I'm going to show you a method on how to get rid of some of this nasty rust inside your gas tank. Hello my friends, and welcome to Tom's Tinkering and Adventures. Today we're going to work on this gas tank for a 1980 Yamaha XS 1100. Now if you've ever worked on an old motorcycle, especially one that's been sitting around for a while, the metal tank obviously, you might find rust inside of them. This bike had sat for about 5 years and the fuel looked and smelled terrible in there, and that was only the first problem. Sitting with a partial tank of fuel, you get a lot of moisture inside of the tank, and that causes rust, and rust is not good for your fuel system. Let me show you. I added some fuel to the tank and flushed it out several times. I'll show you what that fuel looks like. Yeah, pretty nasty. That ain't the worst of it. If you can see down to the bottom of this, try not to spill it. See how much sediment and stuff is in there. And I've flushed it out a couple times already. So that's just the loose stuff that's in here, not even counting the stuff that's scaly in there. I don't know how well you're going to be able to see this on the video, but it's really pretty. So what we're going to use for this is vinegar. So we're going to fill this tank with vinegar. I have 3 gallons. I think this is a 4-gallon tank. We're going to get 3 gallons in there, and we'll check it after 24 hours. I'll probably drain it at 24 hours and see what it looks like, and then if we need to go longer than that, I've gone 2 or 3 days on these things, but that should be all it needs, probably is 2 days. So let's get filling it up. I've already added the first 2 gallons. We're going to top it off with the 3rd one here. And this is 5% vinegar. I've heard you can get 10%, but I've used white vinegar, apple cider vinegar. They all seem to work about the same. I usually just buy whatever's the cheapest. And 3 gallons got us about, probably about 2/3 to 3/4 full. Okay, so we got the tank standing by here. I might swing to the store and pick up 1 more gallon. I was kind of hoping it was going to fill it a little bit more, and I thought about topping it off with water, but you know, this is the 5% vinegar, so better not to dilute it. So if I get another gallon, I'll top it off and we'll go from there. Otherwise, what I've done in the past, if I didn't have enough vinegar, is I just rotate the tank a little bit, put it on the left side for a while, then on the right side. You just have to remember to move it around a little bit. But we're going to let that thing sit for at least 24 hours. We'll check it and see what it looks like. Okay, it's been just under 24 hours. And as you can see here, cleaned up a little bit of the rust there. This is cleaned up significantly. Now that didn't just magically happen. I had a little toothbrush, dip it in here and clean that, and it came up pretty nice. Same with inside of here. I was doing the same in here. As you can, I don't know if you could have seen on the video how far down this was, but I added almost another gallon, almost right to the top. And the rest is coming off really nicely. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to dump out the vinegar. And to do that, I'm going to close this tank. And I'm going to lift this up. I'm going to pull off. This tank has 2 fuel valves, 2 petcocks, 1 on each side. So I'm going to pull off this one on the left-hand side, and I'm going to dump it in here so we can see all the deliciousness. Now, vinegar is an acid, mild acid, but it's an acid. So if our results look pretty good inside of here, what we're going to do is I'm going to mix up some baking soda with some water, probably, I don't know, I have a couple tablespoons there, probably with a gallon of water. And I'll put that in here to neutralize the acid. Swish that around, and then I'm going to rinse it out with fresh water And then after that, I am going to mix about 2 cups of gasoline with about 2 tablespoons of motor oil. And I'm going to put that in here and swish that all around, because what happens is this acid will take off the rust, but it's also going to cause the metal to be kind of bare, and it'll flash rust. So it won't take long. If you just drain this thing out and let it dry, it won't take long before it'll start to rust again. So by treating it quickly, it should be okay. So like I said, usually what I do, neutralize, fresh water. Oh, and then I like to hit it with the heat gun. So I take off both the fuel valves and then just put the heat gun inside of here. And it's a nice warm day today as well, so have it sit outside, but don't let it sit for too long. So I'm gonna set up the camera and we'll drain this out. Okay, incoming. Lots of rust specks in the bottom. I should have had the key ready in the tank here. Let me see if I can do this. If I open this, it should help it come out quicker. There we go. Before it all comes out, I'm going to swish the tank around some. So we'll do that now. And we'll do it again after I get a little bit more out of there. Lots of nice chunks of rust. And one last time here. Okay. Let me get a light and bring you in here. That rust right there is completely gone. Yeah, not gonna be able to get you in there very good. But there's still some rust down there. I can see along the sides. So we're going to seal this thing back up and have everything standing by. We're going to do another 24 hours. But it did a great job so far. Now the nice thing about draining it into this container is I can filter all that rust out. I'm going to run it through a little, maybe a coffee filter or an old sock or something. Get all the chunks out of it, and we'll be ready to roll, put it back in, and go another 24 hours. That's just a portion of the nastiness. I took the tank over and rinsed it out with the hose as well. Probably got almost that much out of there. And there's our vinegar after filtering it out. So we're gonna put that back in there. I'll top that last one off with some water, so we'll be a little bit diluted, but so far so good. After rinsing this thing out with water, it actually looks pretty good in here. We probably got about 90% of the rust out. So we'll maybe only run this one for about 12 hours. All right, it's the following morning, and we'll fill her up again. Look at how nice and clean it looks inside of there. Just a tiny little bit of rust, not too much. In fact, I bet anything that's in there will come loose with a toothbrush here. Yep, look at that. A little bit that was there. So after After yesterday's escapade, I, like I said, filtered out all that vinegar, refilled it, cleaned out the tub here. This thing was rinsed thoroughly. So I'm going to drain it. We'll see what this looks like. And then we'll come back after I get this thing drained. No reason to watch me drain it another time. Well, I thought I had the majority of the rust out of there yesterday. I'm really glad we soaked it some more. Wow, look at that. I am going to filter this stuff out, put it back into the jugs, and then I am going to rinse this out with fresh water into here so we can see what else comes out of there. I should have done that yesterday because a lot came out when I rinsed it yesterday. It does look really good inside of here now. The places where I could see, which was really difficult. I don't have the best setup for this, but all along this bottom edge inside of here, there would just look like there was a little bit. Obviously you can't see all the way in here. If I had, what do you call that, a borescope camera, that'd be great. But I don't have one. So yeah, let me filter this out, put it back into the jugs, and then we will rinse this out into here and see what else comes out. But I do have, there's my baking soda and water ready to go, and this is a couple tablespoons of motor oil. I just used some used, semi-clean used motor oil and gasoline for finishing this up. So if this thing looks satisfactory to me, we're gonna roll with it. Well, as you can see, there's a lot more stuff came out of there. Let me get the shadow out of there. Yeah, but I believe from looking inside of it that that's the majority of it. Now, I mean, I could continue to work on this tank, but the more acid vinegar that I put in here, the more it's going to remove the coating that's inside of this tank. Let me get a light and see if we can see in there. Yeah, not great. I apologize. But this was all really corroded right there, and especially down on the inside down there. I can still see some rust particles. But I have to draw a line at some point on this, because the more times that we keep this acid in here, the more it's going to destroy the integrity of the tank. Now this tank is pretty solid. I'm not terribly concerned about it, but we're going to be running filters inside the fuel valves, the petcocks here, and I'm going to have inline filters as well. So I think we're going to call this good enough. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to rinse it out with the baking soda and water to neutralize any of the remaining acid, and then I'm going to hit it with the air compressor, blow out as much as I can, then the heat gun, and then we will put in that gasoline and oil mixture to seal it all down to prevent the flash rusting. See how this thing's already got a little bit of rust on it? That's what's going to happen to everything inside of here if you leave it sit for too long. All right, I rinsed it out with the baking soda. Now we're going to put in this fuel oil mixture, and once I do that, I'm going to flip the cap down. I've got both of the fuel valves on, and then I'm just going to roll it around upside down on its side and do that for a couple minutes. Coat the whole inside of it to prevent that flash rusting. Seems like that's already started a little bit there. Okay, yeah, this is about the best I can do for you here. Get some light in there. Not the best, but if I, like I said, if I had a borescope, which I don't, so why am I talking about it? We're coated in there. I drained out the fuel and oil. Where did I put it? There you go. I got almost all of it out. So we can just have a light coating in there. I'm going to set this out in the sun and let it cook in there a little bit, and that'll be it. And I'm just going to clean off the outside of the tank. We'll install some new fuel petcocks I have over here. They're not the correct ones for this bike, but they'll be okay. Got these filters on them.
There's the filter for the reserve. So we'll have those, and then I'll run these inlines. When I was peeking in here with the flashlight, I could see still a couple of little pieces of rust on this side. But if that's all that's in there, those will break off. Hopefully get caught in the filters. There's other ways to go about doing the de-rusting of the tank. So you can fill this thing up with diesel fuel and put some nuts and bolts, a piece of chain in there, shake it around to break off those big pieces. That's a good idea. Maybe something I should have done first. You can even do that with water if you want. Water and soap. And then you could do the vinegar. You could do muriatic acid. I've heard phosphoric acid works. And then of course there's the electrolysis method, which I've never tried, but I've always been curious about. Considered doing it on here. I just wasn't really set up for it, so maybe on another day. But you have options. Yeah, well, like I said, that's just one of your options for knocking out rust out of a tank. So give it a shot if you want. It's easy, it's reasonably priced, something you can do at home. All right, if you're liking my videos, give me a thumbs up, leave a comment down below. If you're not already a subscriber, please consider doing so. Thank you very much for watching. Get out there and find your adventure. Adios.